Today, we're going to talk about something that's on everyone's mind, AI. But we're looking at it from a different angle. We're asking, how do you build trust with it? And, more importantly, how can that trust become your biggest competitive advantage? It's not just about doing the right thing, it's about doing the smart thing. Let's dive in.
So, let's make this real. I want you to meet Tom. He's 72, and all he's trying to do is his online banking. Simple, right? Well, not for him. The system just fights him every step of the way. It freezes, it asks the same questions over and over. It basically makes him feel like he's the problem, like he can't be trusted. Think about that. It's not just frustrating, it's exhausting. It's honestly a failure of dignity.
And Tom's story? It's not an isolated incident. Not even close. For just one retail bank in the EU, stories like Tom's add up to this: 4 million euros every single year. That's how much they're spending on extra customer support, all because their technology is failing people. So yeah, this goes way beyond a user being frustrated. This is a massive, multi-million euro business problem.
All right, so that's a perfect lead-in to our first big idea, when good tech fails. I mean, we have all this incredible, powerful technology, right? But what happens when it's supposed to help us most, and instead it just lets us down?
And it's not just about banking. Take Margaret. She's 68. She gets locked out of her healthcare portal. You want to know why? Because she types slowly. The AI decided her slow typing was suspicious activity. I mean, seriously. The system punished her for not being a 25-year-old speed typist. She was penalized just for being, well, human.
Okay, so this is where those individual stories start to paint a much bigger and scarier picture for businesses. You see a 42% jump in help desk calls. That's not a small thing. That's your support team completely overwhelmed. And what's even crazier? Nearly 67% of people in these situations just abandon what they're doing. They give up. That's customers walking away, transactions disappearing. The cost of excluding people is real, and it is steep.
And you know, this forces us to make a really important shift in how we think. For way too long, the default has been to blame the user, right? We call them digitally illiterate. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? The problem isn't Tom or Margaret. The problem is a failure of governance in the tech itself.
So if it's not the user's fault, then what's the real issue? Well, that leads us right to the heart of the matter, what we're calling the governance blind spot.
Okay, governance can sound kind of dry, right? But it's not just about a bunch of rules. Think of it like the plumbing and wiring in a house. It's the invisible stuff that makes everything work. It's all those behind-the-scenes decisions, how we check who you are, how we look for fraud, that ultimately decide if the experience feels helpful or if it feels hostile.
You know that old Silicon Valley motto, move fast and break things? A lot of approach usually treats governance like an annoying chore you get to later. But the trust by design idea completely flips that. It says, no, let's move fast and build trust. Suddenly, governance isn't a brake pedal slowing you down. It's the guardrails that let you go faster, safely. It actually enables innovation.
And this is exactly what happens when you ignore governance. It's like a chain reaction, a cascade of failure. It starts with a poorly designed system, which creates friction for the user. That friction overwhelms your support teams. And boom, that support burden turns into a serious business risk. Trust just erodes at every single stage.
Just to put the scale of this in perspective, right now, roughly half of all seniors find complex digital tech a real struggle. Now look at the future. By 2050, we're talking about 1.5 billion people in that group worldwide. So this isn't some tiny edge case we can ignore. This is a huge, growing part of our global population that we are fundamentally failing.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time on the problem. It's big, it's expensive, it's human. Now let's talk about the solution. And it starts with a whole new way of thinking, a philosophy of trust.
And here's the absolute core of it all. Trust is not an accident. It has to be designed deliberately from the ground up. If you're not actively designing your systems to build trust, you're basically gambling with your most important asset. So how do you actually do that? How do you design for trust? Well, it boils down to these 5 core principles. First, autonomy. Give people control. Second, accessibility. Build for everyone, right from the start. Third, dignity. Treat every user with respect. Fourth, and this one's huge, recovery over prevention. Make it easy to fix mistakes instead of just trying to prevent them. And finally, security through transparency. Be open about how things work. Now, this all sounds great in theory, right? But does it actually work in the real world? You bet it does. These aren't just feel-good ideas. They deliver real, hard numbers. Let's take a look.
Okay, get this. When you really focus on principles like accessibility and dignity, you see a 94% drop in user lockouts. Suddenly, Margaret isn't suspicious anymore because the system was actually built with her in mind.
Next up, transparency. When you're open about how the AI works, user comprehension shoots up by 85%. People get it, they trust it, and they feel more confident using it.
And remember that recovery over prevention principle? It makes a huge difference. When you shift your focus to helping people fix problems instead of just blocking them, issues get resolved 52% faster. It's about offering a hand up, not a stop sign.
So you take all that, way fewer lockouts, people who actually understand the system, and super fast problem solving. What's the bottom line? A 3x ROI, a 3 times return on investment. This isn't a charity project. This is just plain good business.
Which brings us to our final and maybe most important point. It's time to stop thinking of trust as some fuzzy, ethical, nice-to-have. We need to see it for what it really is, your single greatest competitive advantage. And this is where it all clicks into place. Look, every time you do the right ethical thing, you unlock a powerful business advantage. You design for inclusivity? Great, you've just opened up a whole new market. You make your AI transparent? Awesome, you've also just lowered your legal risks. They're not separate ideas, they are two sides of the very same coin.
And the opportunity lying on the table right now is just massive. We're talking about a market of over 130 million seniors who are actively looking for tech they can actually count on. We know that trustworthy brands see loyalty go up by 70%. This is how you get ahead, not by being the flashiest, but by being the one people can truly rely on. So in the end, it really is a choice. We can keep building tech that shuts people out and makes them feel small, or we can start building digital systems that actually serve everyone. Because when you design governance on purpose, with intention, trust isn't a happy accident. It becomes the default setting.
So I'll just leave you with this one last question to chew on. For so long, the race has been all about making our technology smarter and smarter. But what if the real goal wasn't to make it smart, but to make it wise?